Hello everyone, welcome to our first recorded Coromon video in quite some time. We've been participating in the beta for several months now, and I think the dust is starting to settle. We have a good sense of where things are going to land when the update goes live for Switch and PC. And with that being said, I want to start introducing you to some of the Coromon that have most benefited from this update. If you're excited about Coromon and other monster taming content, please make sure to like and subscribe, and let's jump in. The first Coromon I want to talk about, surprisingly, is Golbeak, and probably the most improved Coromon, going from the main branch of the game to the current beta and update that will be available for Switch and PC. It's learned a lot of new skills, the most prominent one being Spike Trap, and as of now, as of today, Golbeak is probably the best Spike Trap user in the game. For those of you who don't know, Spike Trap is an entry hazard that when you have one layer up will do 12% to all grounded Coromon. When you have 2 layers up, it will do 18% to all grounded Coromon, and when you have all 3 layers up, it will do 24% to all Coromon that enter the field. Not only did Golbeak get an amazing skill in Spike Trap, it also got things like Power Talons, which is going to zap your opponent's SP. It also got an amazing ability in Tactical Retreat, which when a Coromon returns to its spinner, it gets 25% of its HP back. So it's a really great Coromon to come in, set up hazards, switch out, switch back in, clear hazards, and has a really good typing too in normal, which the only typing that's going to hit that super effectively is going to be poison. The set that I've been running is a little basic, but I think really effective. I put 60 potential points into HP, I put 60 potential points into speed, and then the remaining 6 potential points into SP. For those of you who don't know, all Coromon have a total of 126 potential points available once you get into online PvP mode. The 4 best skills for this set would be Clearing Wind, which will allow you to remove entry hazards from your side of the field. Unfortunately, it will also remove entry hazards from your opponent's side of the field, so the entry hazards you've set up, and it will also clear any weather conditions. We also run Power Talons on this set, which, like we mentioned before, is going to deplete your opponent's SP, I believe by 7. We also have Spike Trap, which we've talked a lot about. Don't overlook that, really great skill to have. And then the last skill that we run is Zen Cure, which is going to restore 15% of your HP and remove any kind of status ailment you may have. If you do have a status ailment, you're also going to recover an additional 15% HP when using Zen Cure. Golbeak also received a few stat buffs going from the main branch to the beta update that should be available in a few weeks. The changes are a 7-point increase in attack going from 162 to 169, an increase in defense from 148 to 153, an increase in special attack from 161 to 168, and an increase in special defense from 142 to 147 for a 24-point total stat change. All of these buffs were needed for Golbeak to be a viable Coromon, and it's been really fun using. It's a staple of a lot of 6v6 teams. It's probably not so useful in 3v3 because it doesn't hit as hard as some of the other mons. Hazards aren't nearly as important, but in 6v6, this is a really good Coromon to have on your team, and I highly recommend checking it out. Next on our list is everyone's favorite fire starter, Volcadon, and although the changes to Volcadon aren't nearly as drastic as the changes to Golbeak, the few tweaks that this Coromon did get has made it very viable in both 3v3 and 6v6. The 2 biggest changes that have come from this update that have benefited Volcadon are going to be the addition of Backstab, which is a foul type special move that has 85 base power, and the second change is going to be the addition of the Alma Stone, which increases a Coromon's special attack by 50%, but you can only use the first move you select upon entry into battle. The set that we're showing as an example is also a pretty basic max set, in that we have 60 potential points in special attack, we have 60 potential points into speed, and then the remaining 6 will go into your SP. We do have Firestorm and Detonate as our 2 proficiency moves. We have Backstab for coverage, and we also have Poison Chomp because that covers some of the more specially oriented Coromon, such as Malavite with the P.E.K.K.A. Stone, or even Cyberbite that might be trying to switch in, and Poison Chomp will do a decent chunk of damage coming off of Volcadon's base 180 attack. Volcadon has a handful of useful abilities, but since we're recommending the Alma Stone for this set, we're also going to recommend using Steam Layer, which is a cool ability that is going to increase your special defense by 50% if Heatwave is active. Although Volcadon did not see any stat changes going from the main branch to this new update that again will be live for PC and Switch in a few weeks, it's still a very viable Coromon with the changes of backstab to its skill set and the addition of the Almost Stone that it can utilize to help pierce through teams. If you're looking for a solid fire type for your 3v3 or 6v6 team, definitely don't sleep on Volcadon. Give it a try and let us know what you think. The day has finally come where I can accurately say that Eclyptor is a viable Coromon in competitive 6v6 and 3v3. And although Eclyptor is a lot more viable, it's almost hard to describe why it's, in my opinion, so much better now, because the changes to Eclyptor have been pretty minimal overall. For example, it now has an 80 base power physical Ghost Move and Shadow Runner, which doesn't seem like a huge deal, but it now allows it to run a physical set a lot more effectively. We also have an item called the Overcharger Gem, which functions very similar to Life Orb, except instead of your HP being depleted, your skills now cost 5 more SP to use them. But your Coromon now deals an additional 25% more damage when using the Overcharger Gem. So as you can see, slight little tweaks like having a physical ghost move, having access to an item that boosts all types of attack, make Eclyptor a really good mixed attacker now. The set we're recommending is pretty flexible because Eclyptor is such a good mixed attacker. The example I'm giving is a physically based mix set with Crunch, Shadowrunner, Ball of Darkness, and Poison Chomp. You likely aren't going to change that setup too much even if you run it special, but for this set you're going to have 60 potential points into attack, 60 potential points into speed, and then the additional 6 potential points into SP. You can very easily change the spread to be 60 special attack instead of attack to take advantage of Eclyptor's higher base special attack if you'd like to. Both sets are very viable, but overall you're getting a lot of really good coverage and you're forcing your opponent to decide early in the game or even late in the game if you are a physically based or specially based mix set. We are recommending that you run the item Overcharger, which we've already gone over, and we're recommending the trait Dark Atmosphere, mainly because that's going to allow you to get rid of other weather. In a very specific case, you can come in and revenge kill Glamoth because you will outspeed naturally, and you will remove the Antarctic that makes Glamoth faster than you. In addition to removing any weather that's on the field, Twilight will also make it so that Ghost Coromon do not make contact with their targets, and positive stat boosts on non-Ghost Coromon now become negative stat boosts. I haven't been able to utilize that feature in a very strategic way, but it's good to know that it can function that way. Eclyptor has also benefit from a buff in terms of its stats. The big things that we're going to see is attack going from 130 to 201, but we are going to see special attack drop from 261 to 224, so a lot more balance on its offenses, and again allows it to be a lot more effective as a mixed attacker in the new meta. I do think Eclyptor is viable in both 3v3 and 6v6. I do think in 6v6 it has the benefit of hazards being on the field, which really helps it claim a lot of KOs that it might not otherwise, but its speed tier, its flexibility, and its really good mixed attacking stats does make it viable in 3v3 as well. So if you're looking for a fast Coromon to maybe revenge some common Coromon like Glamoth or other fast mons, definitely consider Eclyptor. It's much improved and I'm really happy that it got the buffs that it did. Orotchy is next on our list and it's continuing our trend of having improved Ghost Coromon as we go into this update. Similar to Eclyptor, there were more minor changes or expanded skill sets that made this Coromon more viable, but they were really impactful and I think it's a very viable Coromon in 6v6. It's a good surprise mod in 3v3, but after we talk about the set, you might have a better understanding of what I mean. The set that I'm recommending is a bulky booster, which has worked really well in the situations that I've put it in. I recommend putting 60 potential points into HP, 60 into defense. The reason why I recommend those two stat spreads is because we have Inner Peace, which is going to boost your special defense and your special attack. You do have Replenish, which is only one of 2 reliable recovery moves that I'm aware of. You also have Haunted Grounds, which is a new entry hazard, which is really cool, and we'll talk more about in a second. And then we also have Ball of Darkness, which will be your only attacking move on this set, but after a few boosts, it's going to hit really hard. While Haunted Ground is not nearly as prominent as Spike Trap, it's still a very valuable entry hazard that will lower the special attack of any opponent entering the battlefield by 1 stage. This also benefits the set because, as you can see, we're mainly invested in defense, and the little bit of decrease in special attack allows this mon to set up even more effectively. We're recommending the trait Fully Rested, which will allow the Coromon to take 40% less damage from any hit when it has full HP. The combination of Revitalizer Gem, which restores 5% of max HP per turn, plus Replenish, allows Orotchy to be a really healthy Coromon, potentially activating Fully Rested multiple times in one match. Orotchy also has some pretty significant stat changes, both in the positive direction and negative direction. So we're going to see attack go from 240 to 219, that's a decrease. We'll see defense go from 107 to 161, a pretty significant increase. Special attack drops by 3 from 179 to 176, and we'll see special defense go from 87 to 138. As you can probably tell, this set is fully utilized when it's able to stay on the field for multiple turns and build multiple boosts, which means it may not be well suited for the fast-paced 3v3 meta, but it's definitely a force in 6v6. It can definitely surprise your opponents if you do bring it to 3v3, but definitely give this Coromon a try. The last ghost type Coromon we're going to feature in today's video is Octo, and I'm just going to leave it at that because I cannot pronounce its full name. Similar to some of the other Coromon on this list, there weren't a whole lot of changes to this Coromon, but the changes that did occur have made it very viable in both 3v3 and 6v6. The most significant change for Octo is the inclusion of the Ackerstone, which works the same way as Choice Scarf. It'll increase your speed by 50%, but you can only use the first move you select when entering the battlefield. Octo also got the entry hazard Cursed Grounds. Although we're not utilizing it on this set, it is important to mention that this Coromon did get entry hazards because there's such a limited distribution of those entry hazards per type. So something just to note, you could use that move on this set or in another type of set, but we're not recommending it here. The reason why this Coromon works so well with the Ackerstone is that it has the trait Motivated, which is going to increase your attack and special attack by 1 stage when you knock out an opposing Coromon. The really cool thing here is you already outspeed most of the metagame with that base 214 speed stat. Most Coromon with that speed stat aren't running a Choice Scarf or Ackerstone, as I should say. So you're able to come in, revenge something that's already weakened, get your boost going, and hopefully snowball that into a sweep. The set we're recommending is going to be 60 potential points in special attack, 60 in speed, and then the remaining in SP. The most important move here is going to be Ball of Darkness. Hopefully you can just spam that at the end of the game. But we also have things like Super Drain, which you should be familiar with. This Coromon also has Ignite, which is going to cause a burn on the opposing Coromon. And we also have Shared Fate. The description of this move reads, when the user faints, it will share the fate with its target, setting the target's HP to 1. I'm not entirely sure why the opposing Coromon wouldn't just entirely faint, but good to know you live on 1 HP if you are subjected to Shared Fate. Octo did see a buff in its stats, mainly in the form of defense going from 84 to 123. We are going to see a slight HP increase from 82 to 88, and we are going to see a decrease in special attack from 262 to 251. Overall, Octo is a really great revenge killer, a really good late game sweeper as well. I do think it's very viable in 3v3 and 6v6. Just keep in mind the type of Coromon that are going to counter or wall Octo. But with that in mind, it's a really good Coromon to try out. It's vastly improved and one of my favorite Coromon in the meta right now. The last Coromon that we will be discussing today is Cyberbite, who I think has actually changed quite a bit going from the main branch to the update that will be live in a few weeks for both Switch and PC. One of the big changes, similar to other Coromon, is an item being available to it now in the P.E.K.K.A. Stone, which works very similar to Assault Vest in that your special defense is increased by 50%, but you cannot use status moves, and we've also seen things like Illusion Burst added to his skill set, which really makes it more effective. Illusion Burst is a normal type special move with 75 base power that has a 50% chance to lower the target's defense by 1 stage. This is notable because Cyberbite has a base 214 special attack, so definitely nothing to sneeze at. The other moves on this set are very flexible. I'm recommending Transcending for some priority, Splatter for coverage, and Stone Fist because you'll probably be slower than most of your opponents, so you get some extra damage out of Stone Fist. But like I mentioned, this moveset is very flexible, and if you see other moves that aren't status moves that you think are useful, definitely consider throwing those in. We are recommending the trait overclocker, which means if the opponent has a higher attack stat, the Coromon will overclock its own attack to match it, which is really helpful and useful going up against things like Borealis and Chiraptor that have sky high attack stats. Although Cyberbite benefits from new abilities and a expansive moveset compared to the main branch of the game, we only see debuffs or nerfs for its stats. It's very minor though. We go from 171 HP to 168, but everything else stays the same. So all in all, I think Cyberbite got a lot better and was on the winning end of that transaction. Alright, so those are 6 Coromon that I think have significantly changed for the better, going from the main branch to the update that will be available soon. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think these 6 Coromon are the most improved? Are there some that you think are more improved? Do you want to see more of these videos? So let me know. If you're new to the channel and enjoy Coromon and other monster taming content, please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye everyone!